الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر ولله الحمد. Inshallah, أقيم الصلاة. Inshallah, we're going to stand and pray. The first raka'ah is going to be seven takbirat. So we're going to say Allahu Akbar 7 times. It's okay if we miss it 1 or 2. We're not counting to be exact. And then inshallah, after that, we're going to do the second raka'ah. When we stand up from sujood, we're going to do 5 takbirat. Inshallah. أقيم الصلاة. استقيموا. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله الله أكبر الله الله أكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله الله أكبر الله الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الحديث حديث محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, today is a very special day. Today is Yawm al-Nahr, and these are the days of Tashriq. And when we talk about
these special days, we have to talk about the millah of Ibrahim, the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. His role model, that he was put up as a role model for us. Huwa kana ummah, that he was considered a ummah in and of himself. That he had such a character, and he had such a standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his status and his level. And if you look at, when we talk about the Yawm al-Tashriq, Tashriq actually means a process. It's a process of drying meat. It's beef jerky, actually. When all these Hajjaj used to go and do the slaughtering after Yawm al-Arafah, and they go and do the slaughtering on Yawm al-Nahr, they take that meat and they dry it in the sun. Because in order to take that meat back to their homes, it's a long distance back in the travel. So that is the reason for these days of Tashriq, is that we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that name has stuck. That these are Ayyam al-Tashriq. That we are here to celebrate the sacrifice that we made, and this meat that we had slaughtered for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And brothers and sisters, one of the ingredients that we want to talk about today is what it takes to do this sacrifice. Right? Because what we're going to do today is, inshallah, as many of us are going to do, go and slaughter, go to the farm and slaughter an animal. And the process of doing that takes a couple of steps. And inshallah, we want to be prepared for those steps. Number one is the fact that Ibrahim alayhi salam, his level, his status was attained by what? What was his special ingredient that he needed, that he had, that gave him this status in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Khalilullah. That he said, وَإِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, that he came to his Lord with a sound heart, with a pure heart. What does a pure heart mean in this case? You know, brothers and sisters, when you go and you see on YouTube channels and other things, where you have people asking people, you know, in fancy cars, what do you do for a living? Or you knock on big mansion and you say, how did you get here? How did you make it? The question is, how did you make it to this level? And that is the question we want to ask Ibrahim alayhi salam. How did you make it to this level of being able to have a qalb that is salim, having a heart that is sound? What are those ingredients? It is a heart that is pure with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messengers. And specifically for us, the love of Allah and Ibrahim alayhi salam and all the prophets and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course. And so with that, you have to understand that this heart shall not have any hatred, any animosity, any type of dislike to one another. You clear your heart before you do any sort of act for the sake of Allah. You clear your intention. You always are careful about your intentions. And you make sure everything is for the sake of Allah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, through his tests, you know, as you speak to people and they say, you know, I made my first $1 million because I failed this many times, I went through these hardships. Well, the way that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he surpassed all of his tests, when he told his father that, مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ, what are you worshipping? إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ, what are you worshipping, O people, and my father? He's questioning by himself. He's a Hanif, somebody who is inclined to the truth. That he is calling out his community and his father specifically to say, what are you worshipping these idols for? That itself takes a bit of courage, not just a bit, but a lot. To stand up for what is right. That is a heart that is not going to sit quiet and let the injustice happen. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was set up by his father and his community to be thrown into this fire. A fire that took days to build. You know, you and I, we build a small little bonfire immediately. But we're talking about sticks and logs that were gathered together for days on end, just to prepare this fire for Ibrahim alayhi salam. And so with that, you understand that Ibrahim alayhi salam, the anxiety that he's feeling now, the hurt that he's feeling, and how his heart is now reacting. So Ibrahim alayhi salam goes to his dad, and he tells him, لا تعبد الشيطان. Right? He's asking Allah, he's asking his father, do not worship shaitan, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is all merciful, that he is all forgiving. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam, his dad, he says that Ibrahim, if you do not stop saying what you're saying, then I will stone you to death. And look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, what he responds. He says, Salamun alayk. Sa'astaghfiru laka rabbi. That salam, peace be to you, O Father. Then I will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your forgiveness. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam and his dad, he says that I don't want to see you again. Go for a long time. Leave. And so in that process, he kept speaking up, and that's when he was catapulted. Taking his clothes off, catapulted into this fire. And one of the weak hadith in there is that Jibreel alayhi salam, he came to Ibrahim alayhi salam in the air while he's being thrown, asking, do you need anything? He says, from you, no, but from Allah, hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. You see the heart that it takes to build a pure, sound heart. This is a heart that it goes through these trials and tribulations, and it practices how to purify your intention, to do everything for the sake of Allah. Number 2 is sacrifice, brothers and sisters. Number 1 is a sound heart, and number 2 is sacrifice. You know, interesting enough, in the Quran, there is no English terminology of what sacrifice means. Sacrifice in English means that you give something up for nothing in return. But in Islam, anything you give up for the sake of Allah, you will always receive something better. يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you do any kind of sin or misdeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace it with good. Similarly, whenever you do something, when you donate for the sake of Allah, when you sacrifice something for the sake of Allah, when you leave something that is restricting you from practicing your deen for the sake of Allah, and you leave this area or the position that you're in, then that is a sacrifice. That is a hijrah from something that you're not able to do to something that you, for the sake of Allah, you're transitioning. And this is the meaning of the sacrifice in Islam. The udhiyah that we do is a literal sacrifice. Ithara is to sacrifice and to prefer others over oneself in Arabic. Right? Ithara. But there is no definition of sacrifice in Islam. Do not forget that anything you sacrifice in Islam, you will always, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you something better. He will replace it for you for something better. And you have to understand how Ibrahim alayhi salam was given this test of slaughtering his son, seeing this dream of Ismail being slaughtered. What a test, subhanAllah. And with that test, he executed it all the way to the end, to the point that he was about to slice, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replaced Ismail alayhi salam with a sacrificial animal. And so subhanAllah, he followed through. Brothers and sisters, for us, you and me, it's all about the call. It's about following through as much as we can. And that is the extent of the effort. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not care about the end result of what you accomplish. It's about your effort. And it's about the khawatim, how you finish off your actions for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those that follow through on our good deeds. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those that have a qalb that is salim, a pure heart. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those to reach that level, inshaAllah. And we ask Allah to make our intentions pure today for the sake of Allah as we slaughter and we make this intention for Yawm al-Nahr. Eidkum Mubarak, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Please stand up and congratulate each other, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak.